Good afternoon. My name is Ron Duff, and I'm a technical instructor with Cognex here in Duluth, Georgia. Today I'm going to be giving you an introduction to our three newest products. Insight Explorer version 4.1, what we call EasyBuilder, our newest camera, the Insight Micro, and the Vision View system. First, a little bit about Cognex, if you're new to Cognex. As you can see in the graphic on your screen now, that is headquarters, which is in Natick, Massachusetts, the headquarters for the Modular Vision Systems Division, which I am part of. We also have a surface inspection system located in California. As you can see there, we have to date shipped over 400,000 machine vision systems, representing over $2 billion in cumulative revenue since the company was founded in 1981. The company was founded by Dr. Robert Shulman, Dr. Bob as we call him here, along with Marilyn Matz and Bill Silver. All three are still with the company, now 26 years later. The first system they put together in 1982 was the very first Dataman, which was an OCR system. You can see there that very first system, it took 90 seconds to read one character. They're a little faster now. We have many different products along through the Cognex systems. As you can see on the screen now, you see the surface inspection, which we just discussed, is in California. We have the vision systems. Vision systems represent the DVT and Insight product line. Vision sensors, which is the Checker product line. Vision software, which is Vision Pro, and something new for us, vehicle and 3D sensors. The graphic you're looking at there would be a system that in the future will be used in the trucking industry. As you can see, it's looking for the nearest car and a car in front of it, and it would give them warnings. As you probably know, in the trucking business, sometimes falling asleep and blind spots are a problem. This would solve both of those problems. We have completely reworked our website, cognex.com. There's a picture of the home page. You can see that if you've seen it in the past, you can see it's much improved to what it was before. And you'll see that across all of the different countries, it basically has the same look and feel now, which is a big improvement. You'll just see that, of course, the language is customized by country as well as the contact accessory. So let's move right into an overview of the Insight Micro. Insight Micro is 30 millimeters by 30 millimeters by 60 millimeters. Basically, it's a little bit larger than a lipstick box. Not only is the size new, for the first time we're using Power over Ethernet, also called PoE. The PoE has been around for a while, it's just new to our system. What that means, if you're not familiar with PoE, is that the power and the network information are over the same cable. Similar to if you've seen some of the systems, data points, etc. They use the same system. Because you would certainly, if you're going to mount something on the ceiling, you don't want to have to run power to it. It uses an M12 connector. Basically, that means it's the same cable. So you don't have to buy new cables. If you have a 5000 series Insight camera, you have the green cables around that we've been using, these will still work. A little bit different in that the power, of course, has to come from someplace. So if you're using a switch, you would use a PoE switch. The power then would be added to the network cable. Or you can add what they call an injector, which would put power on the cable between the switch and the device. The Micro also has an I/O on it. On the I/O is a dedicated trigger inputs, 2 discrete outputs, as well as optically isolated NPN and PNP. This uses an M8 connector. Now this is a different connector than what you've seen in the past. The idea though is if you're using Ethernet, you wouldn't need this cable. This cable would be optional. If you see below there, it says additional I/O options. If you're using an Ethernet-based expansion I/O, which we're going to talk about here shortly, you wouldn't need the second cable. As per the 5000, we still have Profibus and DeviceNet modules. Same Ethernet protocols as the 5000 series, Ethernet IP, Profinet, Modbus TCP IP. Here are the different models of the Insight Micro. The 1020 is the entry-level system. It comes with the EasyBuilder interface only. Now, I should explain there. If you have worked with Insight in the past, you know that Insight had a spreadsheet for programming. The spreadsheet is still there. EasyBuilder runs in the foreground and basically builds the spreadsheet for you. Again, I'll show you this, give you a demo of this here shortly. So what this is telling you is you can only, in this case, see EasyBuilder. The spreadsheet in the background you can't go to. And there are functions that you can do only through the spreadsheet. And it also says there that you have a limited tool set. On the cognex.com, you can find the product information for both the Insight Micro as well as the 5000 series and the other ones, the Vision View, etc. But in the product guide, you'll find that limited tool set means that you have all the tools except for the ID, text reading, nonlinear calibration, and the PacMax function. Next, you see the 1050, again, entry-level system with a limited tool set. In this case, though, you do have the spreadsheet. So you would have EasyBuilder, spreadsheet, and a limited tool set. The 1100, similar to the 5100 in the 5000 series, has a complete tool library and a resolution of 640 by 480. The 1000 series also comes in an ID reader version, the 1110. Then you move from there up to the 1400, which is the high-speed vision system. Now also there is, again, it would be similar to the 5400 in the 5000 series, basically 2.5 times faster. Then you have the 1410, which is the ID reading version only of the 1400. And then you have the two high-resolution cameras, the 1403 and the 1413 ID reader version. As you can see here, both of those cameras have a resolution of 1600 by 1200. With EasyBuilder or Insight Explorer 4.1, you can, of course, still use all of your 5000 series and your 3400 if you have those in stock. It is not absolutely tied to the micro. Here on this chart shows you the older cameras. The 3400, which you may be familiar with, uses the control system with the remote head. Then you have the various 5000 series cameras. You can see if you follow along, they follow pretty much, as I was saying, with the 1100 and the 1400. You have the 5110. You can see there 640 by 480 resolution, 32 megabytes of memory. In the 5410, the 54S. The S is the stainless steel model. If you have an application where environment is a serious problem for you, you can get the stainless steel version. Then you have the 5610, which you can see is 5 times faster than the 5100. 5111, which is the higher resolution, and then the 5413, 5613, which are the highest resolution, 1600 by 1200. Then down below on this chart, you can see the 5100, which again is our most popular model, 32 megabytes of memory, 640 by 480 resolution. Then the 5100C. 5100C is the color camera. It also comes in a 5400C version. And the 5400CS would be color and stainless steel. And then you see the 5400R. Again, the R would be a remote head camera. In this case, the 5400R. And the high resolution cameras, 5401, 5403, 5403S again stainless, and 5603. Those are all existing models that you may very well be familiar with. The Insight I/O expansion module. Sometimes we refer to them as breakout boards or breakout modules. First of all, we still have the breakout cable as shown on the top here in your graphic. With a breakout cable, you have one high-speed input, the camera trigger, two high-speed discrete outputs, two programmable LEDs, those are the red and green LEDs on the camera, and one serial with no RTS, CTS. The breakout cable is just that. It's a plug for the camera on one side and basically loose wires on the other end for you to do with whatever you need to do with it. Then we have four different breakout modules. The 1350 that's shown here on this slide, the 1400, the 1450, and the 1460. On this slide, you can see in the lower left, that's a 1400 expansion module. On the top right, the 1450, and down below, the 1460. With the breakout modules or expansion modules, you get an additional RTS, CTS serial lines for serial. You get more discrete inputs, more discrete outputs, and with the 1460, you get optically isolated inputs and outputs as well as light control. Now to tie all that together for you, here's a little chart we put together that shows you those four different expansion modules. You can see here the 1350 has two high-speed outputs. The 1400 has 7 optically isolated inputs, 6 optically isolated outputs along with 2 high-speed outputs. The 1450 has 8 inputs, 8 general-purpose outputs, and 2 high-speed outputs. Then the 1460, you have 8 optically isolated inputs, 8 optically isolated general-purpose outputs, 8 high-speed outputs. And also you have the light input output unit, which is unique at this moment to the 1460. Currently with the micro, we are offering the Wago 750-341 I/O module. Now this is an Ethernet expansion module, a little bit different than a breakout module. It hangs on the internet someplace, or hangs on your network someplace. You connect to it, you configure it. Once you've configured it, meaning basically it's a static IP address that you have to give it. Once you've given it that static IP address, right through EasyBuilder, you can go out and connect it to it. You see on the graphic on the bottom, that's directly out of EasyBuilder. And I have gone in and put the IP address that I signed to the unit, and it went out and it found it. And from there on, you can configure the I/O straight through EasyBuilder. In the I/O section of this course, as you come to classroom training, or later we'll have it posted online, is a step-by-step procedure on how to go through connecting the Ethernet expansion module. And we are currently in the process of putting together a Cognex version that will be out hopefully soon. Now let's talk a little bit about the Vision View system, something that our customers have been asking for a while now. We have it here for you, the Vision View 700. You can see it has a nice color touch screen to it. As you can see in the graphic here, it has 4 Ethernet ports on it that you can connect the cameras to directly. In this case, they're showing 4 micros connected. Now that's an important point because the Vision View is PoE. So you can connect your micro, which needs the power over Ethernet, straight through the traditional green cable that you probably have laying around, right back to the Vision View, and it will take care of both. You get a direct connection then to the Vision View, and Vision View would also supply the power right over the network cable. In addition, there is actually a 5th port there to connect to your network. So you can connect 4 cameras directly and or connect directly to your network. The Vision View itself will display up to 9 different vision systems. Those can be Insight cameras or those can be DVT cameras. In the graphic, you can see 4 different cameras connected, but it will accommodate up to 9. And again, as you can see here, those connections are all PoE. Those are all power over Ethernet. EasyBuilder. Here it is. If you haven't had a chance to see EasyBuilder yet, here's a screenshot right out of EasyBuilder. And let's go into a little bit more detail about EasyBuilder. Some of the new features with EasyBuilder. First of all, you see their smart features. On the graphic on the top, what EasyBuilder will do for you if you need an edge, for example, if you're getting ready to add an edge tool, as soon as you do, EasyBuilder identifies all of the edges for you. You can see in this graphic the blue lines. So now all you have to do is just point and click on whichever edge you were looking for. Simple as pie. Also have smart limits and smart settings. That would mean, for example, if you went in and you're setting a threshold, it will automatically put a threshold, an upper and a lower of 15%. Minus 15% obviously for the lower, plus 15% for the higher. And in most cases, that's going to be fine for you. If you need to fine-tune it, obviously you have the power to go ahead and do that. Also, we have simplified the communication setup. In the center graphic there, you can see that, again, that's right out of EasyBuilder. In this case, you can see we've connected to a Siemens PLC, and for protocol, we're using a Profinet. Just that simple. Just, so you see those are 3 different drop-down menus, PLC, Siemens, Profinet, and off you go. We do still offer offline development, meaning the emulator. It will, EasyBuilder, allow for multiple fixtures. We do have the product ID code that you've seen in previous versions. We also offer the film strip, which is the bottom graphic here in the slide, a results table, which I'll show you shortly, and an I/O palette. Basically what we did with EasyBuilder is we took the best of the Insight, best of the Intellect, best of Checker, and pushed them all together. And I'll give you a demo here shortly. And also, if you haven't seen it yet, there is a trial version of EasyBuilder there on cognex.com. I highly recommend you have a look at it. Here is the user interface. As you can see, right in the center is the image, as we say here, image-centric interface. There is the part that you're inspecting. Again, similar to Checker or Insight. That is the most important thing for most of our customers, and there it is right there in the middle of the screen. Not hidden behind a spreadsheet, but right in front of you. And you can see, in this case, the graphics are right on the screen for you. To the left is the application steps pane. What we've done here is given you a step-by-step template. Basically, and again, I'll give you a demo of EasyBuilder here shortly. It goes through step-by-step what you need to do and connect. Then you have the settings pane and results table, which is down on the bottom. And it does just that. It displays, as you're running your job, it displays on the bottom whether that particular tool passed or failed. You can see all the way on the left the green, and there would be, of course, red LEDs if it were to fail. Also, it tells you gives you the statistics for pass and fail, as well as the result. As you can see, it's kind of hard to see in the slide, but it is showing you the distance in millimeters. So you can use the scale calibration and actually use real-world measurements. On the right side is your palette. And if you look, you can see there's 3 different tabs. The Help tab, the Results tab, and the I/O tab. So when you're actually running your job, right now it's showing you the Help tab, but if you were running your job, it would display your I/O so you can monitor it. And again, I'll give you a demo on this shortly. The EasyBuilder user interface, as you can see here, divides it into 4 simple steps. Start, meaning you go out and you find your camera on the network. It actually will display the network tree for you. It helps you go ahead and set up your triggering for your vision system. And as I just mentioned, we have calibration, both scale and non-linear calibrations right through EasyBuilder. Next, you have your setup tool, meaning you go out now and find your parts in your field of vision. and set your fixture. Configure, go in and set up your communications. As you can see there, and as I showed you earlier, you can set up a PLC, a robot, HMI, however you're going to use the output of the system. And then also down on Finish, in the development mode, color tool graphics, results table, everything is displayed for you as I showed. Very simple. But again, for you, if you're coming to EasyBuilder from previous versions of Insight, the spreadsheet is still there. It's just being set up in the background. Have your powerful vision tools, many of them the same from the previous versions. There are a few new tools in the EasyBuilder or 4.1. You have your part location tools, inspection tools, measurement tools, industrial code reading tools, advanced OCR, OCV tools, and your color vision tools. Obviously, the color vision tools are only available if you're using a color camera. Here is a list of the tools. Again, the screenshot's right out of EasyBuilder. And you can see, as we just discussed, that the tools are divided into 4 different categories: presence, absence, measurement, counting, and identification. And those are your 22 vision tools laid out for you. And again, on the very bottom, the color tool would only be there on a color camera. You can also see it if you go into the emulator and set the emulator to color. So a little bit to tie up EasyBuilder. Says with round-trip application development. Round-trip is what we call switching back and forth between what we call the EasyBuilder view and the spreadsheet view. You can, at any time, switch back and forth. You can have EasyBuilder actually boot up into spreadsheet if you like. Some of the advantages to this is that gives you a backup option. Doesn't require you to rewrite the program. The spreadsheet is obviously a lot easier than scripting. Scripting meaning programming code. And you also have the ability to preserve the EasyBuilder interface. So you can, with EasyBuilder and the spreadsheet, you can deploy a completely customized application without custom code. It says there by creating easy tools using Tool Builder. So now we've moved on to a slightly different subject here. This is also something new. Tool Builder allows you to put together your own tools, create your own easy tools, as they call it here. That will be a subject for another seminar. Provide maintenance capability within the EasyBuilder environment. I know here in Duluth, in the training center, feedback we get most often from customers, or often from customers, but the folks who support these systems out in the field. With EasyBuilder, if your region, your fine region, something has moved, you'll see it because of this image symmetry. It'll be very easy to correct. So we have gotten very positive reviews from the maintenance engineers. Again, here is the 2 different views, EasyBuilder in the foreground, spreadsheet in the background, and what we call round tripping. You can at any time switch back and forth between the 2. You can even go as far as on the right side, if you highlight a tool in the palette, right-click, it will take you right directly to the area of the spreadsheet where that has been programmed. Camera connection improvements. In previous versions of Insight, we used the Camera Connection Manager. That has now been replaced by the Add Sensors dialog. Camera Connections Manager was a separate utility. Add Sensors is a dialog right within EasyBuilder. There is a screenshot to the right there showing the Add Sensor dialog box. The Add Sensor dialog uses link local addressing, which if you're familiar with DBT is the same system. Basically what that means is if you're set up for a DHCP, but you're not connected to DHCP. In the past, that meant you weren't getting an IP address. Link local addressing will see that and will basically give you a default IP address. More on that to come. On the bottom there, it says easy reconfigure IP address without the MAC address. Now we display the address. We still send you the MAC address with a camera, but you will not need it in this case. If you're familiar with the connection manager, that's basically how you went across subnets and found the camera. It asked for the MAC address that allowed it to go through the subnet, find the IP address, and then you could add it. With the new add sensors dialog, you won't have that much trouble. I'll show you here in the next slide. So the add sensor dialog, on the graphic on the top there, here is, again, right within EasyBuilder, this is the network tree. This happens to be the network tree here in Duluth. You can see a list of the emulators and cameras, including one of the cameras in my office there, rduff_IS5100C. rduff obviously is my name. IS5100C is the camera. This is the color camera. So all I'd have to do is highlight it, say connect. Done. You see there it shows any sensor with the 4.1 firmware. Any sensor with the 3.4 firmware, you'd have to recycle for it to show up. That's actually within the add sensor dialog, not within the tree. Once you've found it, it'll always be there. You can, as you can see on the bottom of the screen here, is the add sensor dialog. And on the lower left is a button that, well, in this screenshot it says stop flashing, meaning at that moment I had my LEDs on my camera flashing. It's asking me if I wanted to stop flashing. And again, I've got a little bit of a better slide coming up here where you can see that in more detail. And again, you also have a button here called the Copy PC Network Settings button, which will quickly reconfigure your IP address for you. Basically, all your subnet information, etc. Just copy it over for you. So here is one scenario. The laptop is set to a static IP address. Now that's a problem, of course, if you have your laptop or wherever you're connecting the camera and the camera have to be in the same range. So as it says here, in the EasyBuilder, all you have to do is open the Add Sensors dialog, configure a new IP address, connect it, and off you go. In the previous versions, with the connection manager, as I said, you would have to have specified the address of the camera. You'd have to give it a new IP address, turn the camera off, connect the camera, and then reconfigure the communication settings. With EasyBuilder, as you can see, 3 steps. Just open the dialog, give it an IP address, connect the camera, and off you go. Scenario number 2. You have a laptop set to DHCP, but you're not connected to the network. As you can see here in EasyBuilder, you just connect to the camera, find it in the network tree, and off you go. Previously, as you can see here, you had to change the laptop to a static IP address. Again, if you don't have DHCP, that means that the server is not coming back and giving the laptop, in this case, an IP address. So you're connected to the network, but you don't have an IP address. Basically, you don't exist. So, again, going back to the previous manner here, you'd have to go into your laptop and give it an IP address, static IP address. Open the connection manager, give it a MAC address, give it an IP address, cycle the power, connect the camera, and again, reconfigure your communication system. And you don't have to do that with 4.1 EasyBuilder because of the link local IP address. As I mentioned earlier, what link local IP addressing does is see that you don't have an IP address and give you a default IP address in the 169.254 range. So again, here is the Get Connected on the bottom there to select an Insight Sensor Emulator. That's the network tree. Also, you see there's a button there called Emulator. So with EasyBuilder now, you go straight to that button. It'll highlight your emulator, hit Emulator, and you can set it up for standard color or high or ultra high resolution. Just that easy. Previously in Insight, you had to go System Options Emulator and change the emulator. So you had 4 different steps. Now, basically 1 step. . This slide is titled Get Connected, which is the first step in the application steps over on the left. You can see, again, I mentioned that EasyBuilder shows you a step-by-step methodology of going through setting up a job. I think this is a good point to break out and let me give you a little bit of demo of EasyBuilder. Let me share with you my EasyBuilder. Okay, so on your screen now there is EasyBuilder that I am running here in my office. On the top, in the toolbar, you can see, or the title bar, excuse me, Site Explorer. Admin is how I'm logged in at the moment. The camera that I'm logged into is, title is named rduff_is5400. It is obviously a 5400 camera that's here in my office. And the job that I'm running at the moment is called the demo job. On the left, you can see the application steps that are divided into 4 headings: Start, Setup Tools, Configure Results, and Finish. And as you click through the different steps, you can see that it's asking you for different information. So today we're going to talk about this first step, Get Connected. On the bottom, you can see the Select an Insight Sensor or Emulator that we just talked about. It also, to the right of it, is the Load Job dialog, where you can start a new job or open an existing job. And then under sensor information, it tells you which camera you're connected to, as well as what job you're running. In the middle, of course, is your image. And then to the right in your palette, as I mentioned, you have 3 different tabs: the Help tab, the Results tab, and the I/O tab. Just quickly, let me show you the other steps here. These will be all covered in a later seminar that we'll post online here. Or, of course, if you come to one of our classroom training courses, we will, of course, go through all of these. Next would be your setup image here. You can see along the left here, or on the bottom on the left, you can do a single trigger, live video. You can probably see my hand underneath, similar to previous versions. Or you see there, load images from the PC. So if you have images saved on your PC, you can run them straight from here. To the right is your edit acquisition settings. This is where you set your trigger delay, etc. And also your calibration. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start a new job. So I'm going to go back to Get Connected, New Job, and ask me if I want to get rid of the current job, which I do. Now I'm going to go back to Setup Image. I just want to show you just how simple the calibration is. Under calibration type, we have Scale and Grid. Grid calibration utilizes the dots or the grid pattern, which you've seen previously on Insight. Scale calibration is also similar to what was in 3.4, but just watch how easy it is here in EasyBuilder. I select Scale calibration. I'm going to use edge to edge. Click the button, select edge, and you see right now that EasyBuilder went out and found all the edges for me. I didn't even have to define them. Now I know that the micro camera is 30 millimeters by 30 millimeters by 60 millimeters, so I'll just choose 2 of those edges. Here's on the top, one on the bottom. It's already in millimeters, so I'm going to put in 30, so I know that distance is 30 millimeters, and say calibrate. Done. Just that easy. So now, if I were to put in, again, a distance tool, it will actually display it in real millimeters, real world values. Next, along the left on the application steps is your setup tools. First one here, locate part. Oops. Continue here. This would be where you would set up your fixture. And then, of course, your inspect part. Inspect part are your presence absence, measurement tools, counting tools, notification tools, etc. Next, under configure results are your inputs, outputs. You can see under select I/O module that I'm connected here in my office to 1450. And since it already knew that, it says in parentheses they're attached. You would only have to do that once. You have all of the 4 different options that we mentioned. I do not have a micro connected. If I had a micro connected, it would offer me the option of the WAGO we talked about. So inputs, outputs, communications. We mentioned the setup for communications. Down on the bottom here, it says device. You can choose PLC, robot, or other. So I'll choose robot in this case. Well, what manufacturer is that robot? We'll say Mitsubishi. Great. And what protocol would you like to communicate with your Mitsubishi robot? We'd like to talk to it in Ethernet native, please. Just that quick. And you can see it's already laid out, formatted the string for you, ready for you to go. Obviously, you have custom formatting, so if you want to do something more to it, you can. It's just that simple. You also, at the bottom of the communication screen down here, you can see you can set up for OPC tags. Film strip, again, similar to previous versions. Let me put the film strip up. I don't have it on my screen. There you go. So you could have save images from your job so that you can review them later. You can save just the bad images, for example, and then look to see why they failed. Then you have a save job. And notice also here with the save job dialog, it's a startup job, so that you can have the whatever job you want to will automatically start up when you start the camera. Then start the sensor in online mode. If you're not familiar, if Insight's new to you, online and offline means either the IOs are enabled or disabled. Enabled online, disabled offline. And also you see their sensor main, you have the backup and restore functions. So that's just a brief little overview. Again, we will be posting these online courses, basically section by section there, as you see, plus a little spreadsheet, round-tripping information over the course of the next month or so. And we highly advise, or would love to see you here in Duluth or in Novi, Michigan, or up in Natick, Mass, at one of our training centers for a classroom training course. Okay, so I'm back into the presentation. I just gave you a little bit of a demo on the EasyBuilder. Just a few more items here for you. Again, I showed you during the demo, along the title bar on the top, it shows you the current user, current camera, and current job file. Under that would be your menu bar, file, edit, view, window help, just like on most images, most applications. Of course, the 3 that are unique there, image, sensor, and system. Coming up, I'm going to point out a few of the menus that come up, or a few of the dialog boxes that come up under the image, sensor, and system. Under that would be your toolbar. The toolbar has most of the functions from the drop-down menus in a nice, easy, one-click tool. Again, I already showed you the application steps and how it's laid out in a nice step-by-step approach. You saw the Insight Network. That is actually a little bit different than what I showed you. That is under View, you can view the Insight Network, where there's actually a shortcut for it, and it shows you the network tree. You can see there's the network. Here's the network tree here in our network here in Duluth. Different cameras and emulators, as you can see, are all there. And also you'll note that if you've been into the Explore host and you've added any other cameras or emulators, they will show up here as well. Here is the selected Insight sensor emulator that I showed you previously. To the left is your network tree. On the right, you have the option of connecting, disconnecting the device you want to there. Refresh, if you've added a device to the network. After it boots, you hit refresh. Add would take you to that add device dialog that I showed you previously. And on the bottom there, emulator. So if I clicked on one of the emulators and clicked emulator, it would let me set the resolution and whether it's color or monochrome. Inside file, again, you can reach this either through a drop-down menu or a shortcut button. When you first call it up, it will show you all of the cameras and emulators. When you double-click or open one of the cameras or emulators, you would see the files that reside inside that camera or emulator. On the left here of the graphic, there is all your cameras and emulators shown as a folder. And once you open the camera, you can see there the files that are inside that particular camera. In this case, there are no jobs there, but of course there would normally, there is a job, color job. There is one job there. Obviously, you would have many jobs in most cameras. Starting a new job is as simple as making sure you're offline or not online, same thing. Click New Job. It's always going to ask you, are you sure you want to get rid of your information from the current job? You say yes, and away you go. You can also open an existing job just by saying Opening Job. In this case, in the middle graphic, you can see I went onto my camera. There was the one job called Color, and I said Open. It asked me, are you sure you want to load this and lose the data? The current job, yes, and away you go. You can also save a job. You can see here under the File drop-down menu, and Save Job or Save Job As. Obviously, the difference is Save Job As will allow you to give it a name and define the location where you want to save the job. Save Job would just be for saving it as you're working on it. So if you click on Save Job As, in this case, you can see I selected my IS5100C camera. I'm giving it the name New. Then I would click Save, and I would now have a job called New. I also showed you within EasyBuilder, you have the sensor information dialog. Here you can see I'm disconnected to the 5100C, and I was running the job called Color. Here's a little bit easier. This is the network settings. Hopefully you can, a little easier to see here. On the left, that screenshot is with DHCP turned off. So this is me putting in a static IP address, basically. You can see I'm putting in an address of 192.168.0.102 in subnet 255.255.255. To the right, you can see I have DHCP turned on. In this case, everything is grayed out because DHCP, the whole purpose of DHCP is it returns this information for you. In both cases, by default, you're going to use Telnet port 23. Below that, under Protocol Services, you can see you can enable or not enable the Modbus. Below that, you can set up Ethernet IP, Profinet, or turn them both off. You can also set the date and time for your camera. And what's nice here is you can see, as I've done, you can use SNTP, which is automatically will go out, a simple network time protocol will actually automatically go out to your SNTP server and always keep the time and date up to date. Similar to probably what you're using on your laptop. Here's your inside host table. The inside host table allows you to go to different subnets and set up different cameras. Now you'll also find here that there is an inside host table and an explorer host table. Basically, they're almost one and the same thing. One resides in the camera, inside host table, and one resides in your laptop or in your desktop, wherever you're running your application. Basically, you come here, you say Add. That's the screen on the upper right side here. Put in the name of your camera, the IP address. It would show up then in the host table. That would allow you to go across subnets. You have the FTP settings, where you can set up configure the inside camera to share jobs, images, and settings with other network devices. User list. User list would, in the world of Microsoft, would be permissions. What kind of permissions do you want to give different users? You can see that there are three default access levels, if you will: full, protected, and locked. If you look at those three screenshots, it's basically showing you what those three mean there. Only in full for example, it gives you an option of showing the custom view on login. With the protected or locked, you can see you can give or take away, for that matter, SEP privileges. And also, only in protected will you allow that particular level of operator or user to go online or offline. And you can define it. This user has permissions to do this, this user has permissions to do that, etc. Displayed image settings. This is, again, image settings. So how do you want it to show up on your screen? I have mine set for half resolution, 5 frames per second, and optimized when I'm online. Those are the default values. Here's your log on, log off button. I just showed you the so-called permissions. Who has permission to do what? This is how your different users would log on and log off the system. Create a report's a nice little feature. And when you call up create report, it shows you all of the emulators and cameras on your network. If you click then create reports, as you can see in the graphic on the right, it gives you a nice little graphic, a nice little report in HTML or XML that you can then print. Good idea to take that at one point when you're installing the camera, print it and save it. As you can see, it lists all of your different settings. It would also be useful if you are having a problem. You might want to print that and have it on hand when you speak to your engineer, or to hand it to your engineer and say, the camera's not working, here's what I have. It's a very useful function. Backup function does just that. It lets you select the camera or emulator and back up the information. Information being jobs, images, and settings. Restore. It lets you take those jobs, images, or settings and restore them to your camera. As you can see here, and then restore from. So you can see here's our network tree on the left, and on the right, here are all the different backup files. Now those are actually two different cameras that I have here in my office. If you look at the list carefully, the first three are from my color camera, the IS5100C, and then the rest of them are from my IS5400. You can see that I've backed those up at different times on different dates. So if I've done something today and my camera doesn't work, I can always go out and get my previous backup, restore it to the camera because I knew it worked better. You can also clone. That means I can take my settings. In this case, you can see rduff_IS5400, and I've selected Carlos's 5401 on the right, and I can clone my settings to him. You can see on the right, that's the destination. Source on the left, destination on the right. Although I don't think Carlos would be real happy about if I did that. So we won't do that. Update firmware. On the left are your different cameras. Obviously, the firmware is only for cameras, not for emulators. On the left, there's a list of the cameras that are on our network here in Duluth. The type of camera. In the second column over, the version of firmware that's currently running. Now, if this is new to you, you'll see it says 4.01. That would be the version of Internet Explorer. Then in parentheses, for example, on my camera, it says in parentheses version 226. That 226 is the actual version of the firmware inside the camera. So again, what that's telling you is that I'm using Internet Explorer version 401, and I'm running the firmware 226. As of today, that is the released current version of the Insight firmware. Now we're back to the Add Sensor Device Network Dialog, which we've talked about numerous occasions in the past. You might be able to see it a little bit better here. In this case, here is my color camera, 5100C. There's the MAC address. MAC address, as you probably know, is unique. Every camera, every device in the world has a unique, every network device, that is, in the world has a unique MAC address that's running at a much lower level than IP addressing. IP addresses are not unique. Most cases you you as a building or you as a company have one unique IP address that you expose to the internet. And then within that, within your building, if you will, you may well be using the same IP addresses that we are using here in our building. On top there is the host name, and what the name of my camera in this case, rduff_is5100C. In this case, I'm saying I don't want to use DHCP, so I'm putting in a static address. The static address I'm putting in is 1022.80.106. My subnet here, 255.255.00. Gateway address is there, DNS there, our name of our domain, put in that information, say apply, the difference being that that now is in your camera all the time, as opposed to DHCP, which is dynamic configuration or dynamic IP addressing. Every time you turn on your device, the DHCP server returns it. Here's your Explorer host table. Again, I showed you before the Inside Explorer table, host table, excuse me, and this is the Explorer host table. Again, just about the same thing, the only difference being one resides on the PC and one resides within your camera. Under options, you can see that there are four different options or areas of options you can set up. For example, on the upper left there, there's your emulator. You see that I've had the emulator set up to color, and that I've got the emulator set for up to 20 different FTP server logins. Below that it says offline programming reference, offline programming key. That is actually kind of important. I have some more information on that coming up. If you're going to be using the emulator, what you do is you take the offline programming reference, cut and paste it onto our website, and I'll show you where here in a second. It returns the offline programming key. You would just cut and paste it from the website, put it here. Below that is the file utilities. Again, it says Explore FTP post, where you want your backup to go. The upper right is your image display. This is your saturation low and high. Within Insight, there is a button that allows you to show saturation. Basically, either the red or the blue if you use Insight. It's very useful when you're setting up your aperture. Saturation is too high, it turns red. If it's too low, it turns blue. Difficult to express in words, but it's something you'll see within Insight Explorer. And let's move on to the next one. What else we got here? On the top left here, program exit. This confirm program exit or require password exit. Confirm just means when it comes up and asks you, are you sure you want to do that? That's confirmation. Require password exit. I showed you before when you set the permissions, if the user needs to have permission to exit or has the permission to try to exit, they would have to re-enter their password to actually do it. What else have we got here? On the bottom left is your record defaults. I showed you the film strip, or the results queue it's called, where you can record images so that you can view them later. This is where you would set that up. On the top right are your startup options. Again, in this case, by default, it comes with the username admin and no password, but you could configure that, as I showed you before. And let's move on to the next slide here. I just mentioned the offline programming reference and the offline programming key. Here is how you would go about getting that offline programming key. Go to cognex.com, products and support, download center, Insight downloads, the IE, meaning Insight Explorer emulation key. Down on the bottom of the screen, you see it says, ask you for your company name, in this case, Cognex. Put in your offline programming reference. I just cut and paste it right from your emulation options. Hit Get Key and almost immediately returns with a set of numbers, or letters and numbers. You would cut and paste, put it in the emulator options, and away you go. I showed you when we were in EasyBuilder. On the palette, you have one of the tabs is the Help tab. It does change as you're navigating your way around in EasyBuilder. So if you're in Get Connected, the Get Connected helps on the screen. If you would go to Setup Image help would be there. We also have under Help, the help file, similar to what you've seen in the past. Much more detailed help than what you would see in the Help palette, or Help tab of the palette. Help tab of the palette. And then we have what we call Targeted Help. Targeted Help means if you have a dialog box open, you hit the F1 key, it'll take you right within the help file to where you need to be. So for example, in this case, I'm within the network settings dialog, and I hit the F1 key. You can see it brought me directly to the network settings dialog help file. Next, you have the release notes. These are the release notes for version 4.1. The last-minute information the developers want to pass on to. We do, of course, have online support right within EasyBuilder. If you click on the online support button, it takes you right to the screen here for inside support, the correct area of the cognex.com website. See here, you've got downloads, knowledge base, the catalog, training, firmware, an area where you can submit a case. Any kind of help you might need is there. And last here, you have the About Inside Explorer. And here's a list on the left of all your cameras and emulators, what type it is, whether it's an emulator or what type of camera, firmware, MAC address, IP address, and even the serial number. Very useful if you have multiple cameras running on your network or in your system. Well, that's it for me here. It is 3 o'clock. I hope you enjoyed the overview that I gave you. We are very excited here at Cognex about all 3 of these products. And based on what I've seen the numbers so far, our customer base is extremely excited as well. Again, EasyBuilder, it allows you to move quickly in those initial settings for setting up your spreadsheet or setting up your application. I don't want you to get the impression the spreadsheet doesn't exist. I didn't really show us should go into the spreadsheet, but I assure you it is still there. Basically, EasyBuilder is just assembling it for you. If I had switched to spreadsheet view, you would have seen the spreadsheet just like you're used to seeing, all nice and labeled and nice organized for you. So you could start an EasyBuilder, do your fixturing, do your trigger, do your IOs, etc., and then switch to the spreadsheet for other functionality that you might want to add. The Vision View, again, keep in mind that Vision View does have power over Ethernet for the new micro. So if you're buying a micro and you have the Vision View system with it, you can just take the traditional Ethernet cable that you've had in the past, the green cable that we've always had, connected directly from Vision View to micro. And if you have any questions, feel free to go onto our website, as I showed you there in our technical support area. We have all kinds of resources for you. And if you need to hear this presentation, it will be on the website here shortly. And others will follow every week. I hope you've enjoyed your presentation, your time here, and have a great afternoon.